It is 5:31. I'm going to call the meeting to order. The commission shall serve as an advisory role to assist residents, businesses, and the government of Monroe County in addressing issues of gender equity in all aspects of society. The mission is to advance the status of women in all areas of county life and to champion women's contributions to lead culture and society. I have no introductions because we don't have anybody new, and we have some people not here. I would like to approve the agenda. And I would like to acknowledge that one of our commissioners, Nikki Williamson, is online. And maybe Molly, but she'll be late, maybe. I don't know. Do we have, and 4 people is quorum, so in person, so I would like to acknowledge that as well. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Agenda approved. I know the minutes went out a couple weeks ago, right? I think. Did everybody have a chance to look those over? And are there any adjustments that need to be made? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes from our meeting on June 15th, I believe.
Motion to approve.
A second?
Oh, I second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Our minutes from June are approved. Commissioner updates. Oh, the only thing that I really want to talk, just to say thank you for everybody who could come in person to the Monroe County Now chapter meeting in June. And that's all. Well, I'll do this now. Here, look. We have name tags. There you go. Juliet. And Nikki. I have Kathleen and Molly's, and I will give them to them at a later date. Mine is in the car. Which is super duper exciting.
I'm interrupting. Thank you so much, Susan, for taking care of that. I know it was a challenging process, and we appreciate it because we are legitimate.
We are legit.
Okay, if we say it too much, then we're not.
I just said it one time.
Okay.
So that's all I have, Maria.
So I'll get the quick things out of the way. So happy Disability Pride and Minority Mental Health Month. And just so we know, Tiana, International Self-Care Day is July 24th. So just mark that down. I also wanted to mention, we don't need to vote on this right now. I want us just to think about it. There's a possible project opportunity with heading home. It would be a volunteer situation in that they're looking for people to not be case managers, because we're not, you have to be specially trained to be a case manager, but it would really be people or a group, ideally a group of people, to walk alongside somebody who is recently homed and just make sure that, they get their I almost said telephone turned on, that shows my age, that they get their, electricity and utilities or whatever in their name, doing all the things that they need to do to move in and be comfortable, and then a good tenant, and, plugged into any resources that they may not be aware of, and things like that. So not a case manager, but people, and ideally it would be a group of people, because we all know that everyone's capacity is pretty limited these days. So therefore, we could ideally kind of say, hey, you're on this week, or you're on the utilities, we're on the cell phone, you're on the, job search, or, whatever. And so we can talk maybe more about that in a work session or, offline, but I did want to put it out there that I would like us to think about. It's not a formal program yet. It's something that they would like to, or that Mary actually would like to try. But again, it would be on a volunteer basis. And yeah.
Is there any kind of timeline where we'd want to maybe discuss it and get back with them if we're interested?
Probably the sooner the better,
Okay.
but it's not like, again, it's nothing formal. And it may be that we don't have the capacity, because we all are who we are, right now. But I think it's something that I do know it's something I would like us to at least think about. Thank you.
I'm going to go into old and ongoing business. The commission meeting report. I haven't seen, I know I've missed a couple. I don't know if anyone has any specific thing report. I know that they, this is the county commissioners. I know that they passed the CIB, I think, for the convention center.
They passed that, yeah. Not in this meeting. I was signed up to attend, and I did virtually. So nothing of, I have the agenda right here, nothing of note happened during the actual meeting, and I was not prepared to stay on for the work session, but there was a lot of passing or approving of budgetary items, nothing of note, nothing new that I could tell. One thing, though, that I thought was interesting that I did want to bring up during this meeting is that the health department got on there and made or did some department updates, and they're going to be they are going to have an immunization clinic for children at 333 East Miller Drive. Immunization. Yeah. So.
Awesome. I don't know if anybody else attended or has anything else added that or anything they want to add to that. Shoot, did I not? I always forget things. County Council meeting report. I know this is one of the things that we've talked about before, about really, do we need to attend? And I think I suggested, like at least we could read through their agenda, or because they are pretty long. Dang it, forgot some things. So I haven't watched or think they've read a lot of time because it's summer. They've kind of been off a little bit, but I don't know if anybody has anything that they want to add from a county council meeting or anything they've heard about with them. No? Okay.
I have something to add.
Okay.
So I attended just virtually the July 11th meeting for the Monroe County Council, and I thought it was interesting that the juvenile probation is changing their juvenile probation officers to be called an evidence-based practices coordinator. So they're changing a probation officer to that title, and they're still looking for one position. So that's kind of cool. The goal being to reduce recidivism and have some really intense training and utilize cognitive behavioral interventions rather than punitive interventions for juvenile probation, which I thought was really cool. being a social worker. Secondly, they talked about Ivy Tech funding for early childhood educators, which I thought was just important that they're looking at that. And then they talked at length about Centerstone funding of various places, the Blair House, another house that I couldn't catch the name of, and their mobile crisis unit. And I thought something that was important for us to note was Councilperson Crossley, Carrie Thomas, and I can't read my writing, somebody else, they are hosting a listening session up at Crestmont Boys and Girls Club, a listening session for July 27th at 7 p.m., encouraging people from that neighborhood to come and talk about whatever issues they're facing, so that Councilperson Crossley and others can hear their voices and note kind of their concerns. And I thought this might be a great opportunity if any of us had the capacity and the availability to attend that July 27th meeting at 7 p.m., that listening session. Excuse me, it's not a meeting, it's a listening session. That might be a great way for us to be informed about things happening up in that neighborhood that we might need to know about or be useful for.
At Crestmont.
It's at the
Boys and Girls Club?
Yeah. It's also, they're also doing a pantry drive to collect items for I think for the neighborhood pantry. There's a list of things, I don't have the list in front of me, but there's a list of things, toilet paper, other toiletry supplies, like that sort of thing, that they're collecting at that event. But I will be there, so.
Yeah, I put it on my calendar. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I added it to my.
Yeah, I know some of the future city council people are going to be there, Isak and Shruti, and I don't remember who else was there, but it's co-sponsored by Now and maybe a couple other people. I don't know. The Bloomington Commission for the Status of Women, I know I think Nikki and Kathleen both attended the one in July. Kathleen, did she send that to everybody? She sent pretty detailed notes about the meeting. I know she did to me. Did she send them out to everybody? Sorry. I will forward them. I meant to add them to our minutes too, or our agenda as a thing, but what's the word I want? Appendix, I guess, for this, so I will add that. And I thought it was actually great because I was like, this is what I need to do when I go to meetings, because she immediately, she was taking minutes and notes as she was attending and then just sent them out, which is exactly what I need to do when I do things, because we meet so rarely that so far apart that I forget things in between that. So I just know that they are doing the women's market on August 26th, and they were talking about that. I know that they were still talking about attending our meetings. I did remember to send our agenda to Marissa, who was gonna forward it to the rest of the commission. I knew she had told me she was out of town this month and was hoping that maybe someone else would come, but obviously not. I will still think it's important to continue attending theirs and eventually, and building that relationship. And yeah. So
Nikki's got her hand up. Sorry.
Nikki?
Hey, yeah, so I just wanted to say, so I sent out that sign up genius for the Bloomington, for us attending their meetings. And I had earlier sent out a version of that. And so the most recent version that I sent to you, use that because it's got all the way through 24. So if you look in your sign up genius, you're going to have two of those. Signups, do the latest one, and I'll go in and cancel the other one.
Since you brought that up, can we talk about signups, or what do you have, Julie? Or Tiana, do you have something?
Well, I was gonna ask about details on the women's market. When, at what time?
It's at City Hall on the 26th from 9 to noon. 9 to noon, right? Yeah.
It's the same day as Pride, Bloomington Pride, but earlier. So do both.
So, I mean, I guess that, leads us to the question of, I'm sure I'll go, just in general, I will go to, the market and
market.
stuff, and probably, throw on my name tag or something, just to,
Sure.
to check it out and just to meet people and, whatever.
support.
Anyway, I don't know. Yeah, show support, because I'm sure that whole, their whole commission will be there, so I don't know.
Okay.
I just don't know in the future how we want to communicate. I don't know. I guess in the future, or we should work on, I don't know, does it matter coordinating events? Like if we go to the listening session or the market or whatever as the commission? I don't know if we need to coordinate, I guess, as much as just communicate that we're going and going in as commissioners.
Yeah, I think if we just agree to have a presence at these things and who can go.
Yeah.
What I'm concerned, okay,
Go ahead.
is the sign up situation. Like, so, Julie, you have a speaker for August. We need a speaker for September. Okay. And
But
then,
we're going to talk about all that later. We're
oh,
going
we're
to
going to talk about that later? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, sorry.
No. Speakers specifically we're going to talk
Okay,
about.
but then also the commissioner no one signed up for,
I couldn't find them when I was making the agenda, so I couldn't remember. I'm not saying that they haven't been done. I just, when the minute, I always I have the links or the emails saved, but sometimes I don't always save I don't know. I thought you'd sent out a different one for the commissioners too, or no, I don't know. I'll have to look, but.
well, because I would like to see on this, not, the past signups aren't that important to me, but the upcoming, like who signed up for what, I think is important.
Yeah, and I can update that and send that out. I don't know why I didn't finish that when I made this. But I know.
So a rundown, you should have a sign up for the Monroe County Council meetings. You should have a sign up for the county commissioner meetings. And then you should have a sign up for speakers. And then you should also have a sign up for the Bloomington City Status on Women meetings.
Yeah,
So there should be,
yeah.
there's been a lot of signups that we've sent out.
I know. I think the one that I have signed up for oh, there's the other one. I had the old commissioner one that. Okay. Yes, I will check that and
Okay,
make sure
yeah,
and
figure
send
it
it
out,
out.
just to make sure we have everything covered that we want covered.
Yes. Okay. Before I get into this, because we're getting ready to get into some meaty stuff, I'm going to back just a second, sorry, to some updates that I wrote that I didn't even put in the minutes. I just want to note that I attended the Democratic Women's Caucus. I meant to tell everybody to come. I didn't. I did go monthly. It was interesting. As I've been getting to know people, it was held at Crazy Horse. It was nice as I'm learning just the political makeup of the community. I was introduced because I was there. I think it's something to think about that I will add as these events are coming up to attend, because I think it's just interesting to get to meet. And it's nice because the commissioners are there and Charlotte Zietlo's there. A lot of people with a lot of history and experience in the community to just meet and work and see what they're working on. mission is just really to empower and endorse, women in, the political sphere. I thought I had to leave, but I think one of the things that I would have talked about, because they were talking about how, the future of their organization, in the sense that, what their role is, because originally they were created to, make sure that there were women in the political realm in Monroe County, and they've got that, right? There's 3 female commissioners. There's, they're going to have a majority on the city commission. So, and they were talking about expanding into other areas, like in Southern Indiana. And I was thinking about, the commission and about, the things that we've talked about, helping with other counties set up women's commissions or supporting that endeavor and stuff. So just something to think about, nothing, just something to think about. But I will definitely let us all know in the future when those things are happening, attend or not. It's just good information out there and good opportunity to network and see what's going on, especially with other politically minded women in the community. I also spent quite a bit of time at the county fair for the Monroe County Democrats. I went to mostly just learn and support, network and stuff. I had a good time. Well, plus I love the fair. I did have the opportunity to spend some time with County Councilor Peter Iverson, which was really nice because of the work with JFAC and other things. We had been previously introduced through a mutual friend, because I've been really interested in bringing back Rhinos, which was an old ages club back in the day. There's an opportunity for some funding, and that's kind of something that's been of interest to me. So working on that, but I think that, and also, I didn't really mean that about a book club, but I am reading this book that Jordan from New Leaf, New Life recommended, because it was about incarcerated women firefighters in California. And I'm reading it, it's very good. And I'm meeting with her, Maria and I are meeting with her next Monday at 4:30 or something like that. Yep. Okay. Sorry, that was my back notes that I forgot. Okay, so girls coding camp. I feel like we haven't touched that in quite a bit, and I know I reached out to Tiana, I think by email, maybe Maria too, to see what was going on there, because I feel like that's going to be here before we know it. So do we have an update about this?
Yes, we want to. So can we have a discussion too first to change the name? Should we discuss that first, or should we give updates on the dates? So, okay, sure. Madam. So the dates we're thinking for coding camp is September 9th through October 21st, with October 21st being the celebration. So the actual coding camp would happen the 9th through the 14th. September 9th through October 14th. We have sent a message to Molly to see what we need to do about the MOU, because we had that meeting back in April. So seeing if it's something left on our end or their end, so we can get that moving. And once we do that, then we can release everything. We're gonna work on getting volunteers, so we'll be able to hit go marketing. We're gonna talk to Ivy Tech to have them as a sponsor, but like to have student volunteers from Ivy Tech. So that'll be their partnership. We talked about the training that happened in the past. We're revamping that training from the feedback from the volunteers. That way the girls will be ready to have a full website designed in those 6 weeks or so that we work with them, instead of it's delayed, because really what happens is the Girls Who Code, it's really for an at-home process and not an in-person process. So one of the Luddy alums have revamped the whole training program for us. And so I'm gonna work to help train our volunteers, or our paid volunteers, I should say. I should say the student leaders who we will pay. And do you want to give your updates, or do you want me to talk for your part too?
I'm helping out trying to get location things going. So I've been in touch with the partners that we've partnered with last year, and those include the mill and talking with someone at RBB, because those were both locations that were actually used for the training sessions. So I think we're going to be reaching out to them to kind of give them an informal timeline that we're looking at until we get the MOUs in place. We can't really definitively schedule anything, but hopefully the timing that we're looking at is going to work. And then we're going to be, I think, yeah, we're going to be. So I'm going to be in touch with them this week.
Have you been in touch, is it the RBB contact the woman that I had been talking, one of the teachers?
Yeah, Megan.
Is it Megan? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so just so everyone knows, Tiana is basically in charge of the curriculum and training because she has that, those tools at her fingertips. We're also partnering again with CWIT, and so we'll get some paid volunteers from them probably. And then Julie is doing the communications and logistics kind of part of it, and then I'm doing the marketing. But our goal is to have marketing and everything ready to go as soon as we get those MOUs figured out. So things are on track as much as they can be right now. And then there's been some confusion out in the community about who's doing what coding situation. So Tiana.
Yeah, and also like some of the volunteers, since we call it Girls Coding Camp, maybe we should call it what it is. Instead of calling it Girls Coding Camp, call it, make it a girls web design camp, because that's what they're doing. They're learning coding, but it's not a coding camp. And it's confusing. That's where the conflict came in with Megan being confused with Luddy's involvement with Serve IT, because they do some girls coding, after school girls coding camp with them. So that's something that we thought we should bring to have a discussion.
So, and again, you three know a lot more than I do about this. I thought it was, I thought it was because there is a Girls Who Code camp. I thought it was like a trademark program. Is that not the case? Because I know I think there is, like with Girls Who Code maybe.
There is a Girls Who Code,
and that's like a trademark.
Yeah, and yes, so we were using the Girls Who Code curriculum, which that was an easy thing to do at the time, but that's not the most efficient way to get our girls where we want them to be.
So we're not constrained by, we have no
No.
constraints in that
No.
regard. Oh, then, yeah.
No, I think that name was just whatever the previous commissioners called it. So I don't think that, we're not married to that.
Oh.
So we need to figure out, it's been suggested, and I don't know if we need to vote on this. I don't know what we vote on and don't, but we need to, we're suggesting, the Subcommittee for Girls Coding Camp is suggesting that we come up with a new name. And I'm totally fine with girls, what'd you say?
Web design camp.
Web design, because then it
that's what they're
literally
doing.
tells you what you're doing. Coding could mean like so many other things,
Right.
So then they know exactly what they're signing up for. And so I don't know if we need to vote on that.
I think we could make a motion.
You can make a motion.
So I'd like to make a motion to change the name from Girls Coding Camp to Girls Web Design Camp.
And are we really camping?
Right. And maybe that's another thing. We're not camping. But I think it's the whole thing of doing something consistently, maybe, because that's the same thing, the YMCA camp. they're not camping, but they go every
I
week in the
know,
summer, you know?
could
But it's
call-
a good,
we
we
could
don't
call
have to call
program,
it.
we could call
Right.
I feel like calling it a camp is more inviting than calling it a workshop for kids or
Yeah.
something, you know, like that's,
Oh,
yeah.
camp.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because then the fun part, because we still want them to have fun while learning
Okay.
and be invested in learning coding. Okay, so do I need to read the motion?
I second the motion.
Nikki's
Thank you.
on it.
All in favor of changing the name from Girls Coding Camp to Girls Web Design Camp? Say aye.
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 Our motion passes. Now we have Girls Web Design Camp. Awesome, thank you. Let's see. Ugh. Gender equity, I say that not in a bad way, like just because it's such a meaty topic. Okay, wait, is that everything we have from Girls Web Design Camp, all the updates? Okay. So Gender Equity and Justice Response Subcommittee. I know you had a subcommittee meeting yesterday. I know we had Julie Brava, who did her first public comment earlier this month. And I know they have a meeting, or CGM has a meeting coming up, or JFAC, sorry, not CGM. JFAC has a meeting coming up on the 31st, I believe is their next one. So let's hear what you guys talked about last night. Or anything else.
Yes, so we got together last night and discussed the aims for the subcommittee, because we were discussing if we are wanting to, as a subcommittee, be working directly for feedback to JFAC, or if it's more about giving feedback as a subcommittee to the Women's Commission to do something with JFAC. And I think we're thinking of this as a group that should be bringing something to the Women's Commission, and then deciding as a commission what we want to be saying or doing and supplying to JFAC. So that's one thing. And then we discussed the topic for the July 31st JFAC meeting, which is diversion intercept zero. And it turns out that Kathleen is trained in this, the acronym SIM mapping. Sequential intercept model. She is one of 25 people in the state of Indiana that's trained. And so there is literally with these intercepts, which Nikki had a handout. We don't have Nikki here today, so we don't have a handout for you, I'm sorry. But there is a handout with the intercept model that we were looking at, which the JFAC is using. And they're using this in a more informal way than what the SIM mapping process actually calls for. So we kind of had a discussion about like what the differences are, what is actually happening here, and what JFAC is trying to do, and what I think that kind of helps inform us as a subcommittee and how we want to approach giving whatever feedback we're trying to give and support we're trying to give. So I think what we're looking at for the subcommittee, for us as a subcommittee, is to continue following the JFAC meetings and the topics that they're discussing, and they're discussing them in terms of the intercept divisions, the 0 through 5 intercept divisions in the SIM mapping. But it is more topical, and they're bringing people to the table, but kind of it's ex officio, non-voting for discussion, as much discussion as they can have, but there is no formal facilitation happening to make sure that certain discussions are occurring for certain topics. So continuing to attend those meetings and watch for those topics in terms of women and women identifying inmates and the needs that they have, and folks going through the justice system on the gender spectrum and the needs that they have. And I think what we're looking at least for the July 31st meeting, is to construct a public comment in terms of what we're bringing that focus up and continuing to bring that focus up at JFAC. And it's not necessarily that we are able to make recommendations because we don't have access. That was one of the things we were talking about. We don't have access to current data for Monroe County. It's not something that we're able to just go and get at. And that's potentially another public comment to make, that better data that's more current is something that's needed to improve the process and make sure that these populations are supported. So I think the overall thing that we're thinking about, and I think this is potentially something for the Women's Commission to vote on, is a plan for us as the subcommittee to construct public comments for each of the topical meetings that JFAC has coming up. And if that works, if that seems like a good idea for the Women's Commission to be making this point at the meetings, and potentially if we see the conversation starting to include discussions about women and women identifying inmates and folks on the gender spectrum and the needs that they have, then we can turn the comments into more of a thank you and instead of a please consider sort of comment. So that's the plan at this point. Do I need to make that as a motion to vote on?
So my my comment about JFAC. So after the meeting that we went to, the most recent meeting, I was talking to Counselor Iverson, and when I walked up to the table, he was like, I was expecting you the whole time to make comment. And I was like, I haven't made, no. I was like, we're, listening and learning. I think they very much welcome anything we have to add. I still, and this is based purely on conversations with Counselor Iverson that I have, that there is some education to JFAC about our purpose. I think that that's what they need to understand. I think, I still think that there's some focus or that we're here in this just manner. We're just here to make sure women have tampons, and it's like, and I think that that is important to make sure, and I've reiterated a couple times in conversations to him and I think even maybe the sheriff that, we're here just to make sure our bases are, my interpretation is not to call anybody out, is to provide support and make sure as things move forward and are discussed that a base is covered, right? We're just here to make sure that, people, that's how I feel about it. And so I think there is some education that needs to be done. I think maybe it's just something that comes, every time we make public comment, starting about, our mission, describing our mission or our intentions along here and educating people about what we want to bring to the table. I also think it's important, and we can discuss that in addition to this, as we make public comment to JFAC, I think it's important to maybe make that comment at a commissioners meeting as well. I think, the more, JFAC is definitely high profile, commissioners are high profile meetings, and I think those are the ones, that, any public comment we get made at because people are paying such close attention to those things, but that's just food for thought. Maria?
Exactly who said we are just interested in getting people tampons? Who said that?
Counselor Iverson.
Said we're just trying to get people tampons?
This is the way that he said it was presented to him, is that was what we were trying to do.
Presented to him by who?
I don't know.
Wow. Nick.
So yes, we can make some notes on that for the future public comment that we make. And one of the things that we also discussed with the subcommittee last night was a preamble, like something that is kind of an intro every time that we're making public comment. And
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
So yeah, exactly.
Yeah, trust me, it rubbed me wrong too.
Well, I hope you said something.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you say?
I was like, we are more, and we're more, I was like, we're more than, like, that's not what we're about. I mean, that's part of this situation where it's like, we're here, you know, to make sure the base is covered, and it's more than that, and more than that, and more than that. So, and I think they just, you know, need to learn what we're, you know, more than that about, so.
Yeah, well, that was very poor choice of words to use to communicate, I feel like, so.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, I
after,
agree, I was.
after the
very-
public comment that I made in that report, putting that in the next meeting, I purposely wanted to sit and listen to see if the conversation ended up talking or discussing or incorporating women's issues or gender spectrum issues, and it did not, which is what I'm wanting to see change in the JFAC meetings, in what they're doing, so.
I think a lot of the change, I mean, I think obviously public comment is great. I also think a lot of that is, you know, just, I mean, and I know Counselor Crossley knows who we are, and she was very glad that she stayed the whole last meeting that she was here. And I think, you know, I mean, I think she knows, you know, who, because she has the most knowledge about who we are as a commission. I think a lot of this is just, you know, building relationships with
It
everybody.
absolutely is.
Yeah.
But that was totally disrespectful and totally
It was very,
misogynist to say the Monroe County Women's Commission's just interested in getting inmate tampons. If that, is that what you're gonna, that's what he said.
more or less.
Is that what he said?
More, I mean, yeah, I mean, the gist of it, yes. I mean, not in those exact words, not yes.
Okay.
So what about the gentleman that came to our working group? He's our representative. What is he in that? Is he in
Jeff
that same-
McKim, he's
Right.
not a part of JFAC. He's a part of the, he did not, that's not his subcommittee for
Oh,
county
okay.
council.
But
Okay.
okay.
Let's move on, because that, I cannot handle that right now, to be honest. But
Nikki, did you have something to say? You had your hand raised a
I
while
did.
ago, I'm sorry.
I did, yeah. So first of all, Julie kind of took it because I wanted to make sure y'all knew that, yeah, that was something that came out of yesterday's subcommittee meeting, was that we will have a little statement with a preamble that outlines the mission for the subcommittee, and to make sure people understand who we are, what we're doing, just like we do in this meeting, which is super important, and I'm glad we're doing that. But also I just wondered, like, so is Councilperson McKim, are they going to be coming to our meetings? He came to that work session, and then we haven't really had anybody since, with the exception of Councilperson Crossley last time, who was speaking about JPAC.
Well, for McKim,
Well, that's not true, because Penny Givens was here, or no, Julie Thomas was on screen too,
well, I
one of
know
the commissioners.
Counselor McKim is not running again next election, so I don't know what that has to do with, you know, his involvement, but
it should have nothing to do with his involvement, because he's in the seat right now.
I agree.
And he, you know, but this isn't about him. What we need to do for this subcommittee is we need to vote on, one, if we agree as a commission that we need to make public comment at each JFAC meeting, and two, if we want to come up with a preamble that has the words advocating gaps, promoting transparency, inclusivity, equality, and representation. Those are words that we think should be in the preamble. So motion to make public comment at every JFAC meeting from the Women's Commission.
Yeah, I second that.
all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Motion to create a preamble that includes the words advocating gaps, promoting transparency, inclusivity, equality, and representation.
Do I have a second?
Oh, yeah, second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Nikki had her hand up.
Nikki, do you,
That was me. I'm never sure if I'm supposed to be voting or not, but can you give me those terms again, Maria, for the notes, for the minutes?
Advocating gaps, promoting transparency, inclusivity, equality, representation,
Thank you.
and also gender spectrum. I'm going to add that one.
Okay, I'm gonna back way to the beginning of this conversation, way to the beginning, and this was something that came up when we were, when Nikki was talking about coming and I was talking about leaving the subcommittee. Do we have, as a commission, do we want to set limits to the size? Do we want to, how do we all feel about any of that?
My thoughts for subcommittee work, if this is how this can work, is that anybody that wants to be involved from the commission should feel like they can be involved. I don't think we should limit ourselves. So if people are interested in whatever the subcommittee is and the work that's happening there, they should absolutely be involved. And then with work sessions, as long as we are not trying to vote on anything, it shouldn't be a big deal that there are more than the quorum level attending at a work session.
Actually, it is my understanding we can vote on things in a work session. But I didn't think we could, and I think that was corrected to me when we had our work session before.
Okay.
But I can double check.
And that's fine. I feel like we won't need to vote
Me too.
on anything in
Yeah.
the subcommittees or work, because the reason why we have the subcommittees is like Julie said, to bring it to the full commission to vote if this is the action that we want to take.
Yes. Yeah, that's my thought as well. And then I think the only other question or thing that we were contemplating is if that is a public meeting to announce. And we made an attempt, and it maybe went out to.
It did.
Okay, but it wasn't like a thing that got posted on the website or anything.
I think she
so-
just has to send it to the media to alert them, and she did. She
Okay.
CC'd me
And
on it.
that's the public notice
I think
thing?
so.
Okay, all right. So I think if we do work sessions like that, we want to do, and we want to do a public notice. But
Yes.
is that only if we've got like the number of
Quorum.
a quorum? Okay, is that what that is? All right.
I still don't think, I think even if, because there would potentially be 5 of us on that subcommittee, that even if we don't have 5 coming, if we only had 3 coming, we still send public notice on it just to keep that message going would be my thought, maybe, that we're there, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, just in the habit, I think, maybe just have it every time we do have that work session for the subcommittee, that we
Yeah.
would send it to Dina to let her.
I mean,
promote it.
but, for example, like Girls Coding Camp, there's only 3 of us that are working on that subcommittee, and so we're not doing a public notice when we get together to talk about things.
I don't think we need to.
So, yeah, so that's feeling like the difference is if we've got a quorum level involvement, maybe?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And just for clarification purposes, so a subcommittee meeting, is that the same thing as a work session? Because I was under the impression those two things were separate.
I think they are separate, but I think even if a subcommittee has quorum, I mean, I think we're
Then it
mixing
becomes
up
a
our
work session.
language, but I think even if a subcommittee has quorum and they're meeting, it has to be noticed.
Right, but I'm asking for clarification on the language. I understand the quorum piece.
Oh,
So subcommittee meetings, are they considered work sessions?
I would,
I'm going to say no.
yes, okay. I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to say I don't know, but we can find out.
Okay, who's going to find out?
I'll find out.
Great, thank you.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to get that clarification. Also, I did, after I remembered, because I do remember when Kathleen attended that training, and I didn't even know what it was because it was way before this happened, that I was, and then when I remembered the other day, and she knows Counselor Iverson, they work together. So, and I texted Iverson immediately, and I said, you better get her on at the table. And he's like, okay. So she'll probably go to the table, be invited to the table for JFAC because she has that experience that probably no one else in the room has. And yay for us for having an expert in our midst. So that's good.
I guess one last thing that we discussed that might be good to note here is that because we were figuring out the even though they're using the intercept model and they've got these topics, but they're not following that formal process. That there's kind of a twofold thing that the JFAC is working towards. So they've got the September budget decisions that they're needing to make, which is kind of a more immediate, what can we do right now situation. But then they're also working towards plans for the new jail facility, which is a longer term thing. So we were trying to remember, and I don't know for sure, but I was thinking that one of the commissioners, potentially at a commissioners meeting, had been discussing the possibility of something like a SIM, maybe the SIM mapping. I don't know if that was it, but it was something where it was like a longer process that that the county would have to go through. So potentially there might be some plans for something more formal, but I don't know. But that's kind of where we are right now with the understanding of how JFAC is working at this point, is a little less formal, but trying to move quickly, and then potentially something more formal, longer term.
Well, I do feel that they're just trying to fill a void left by the commissioners disbanding that other thing. I talked to Mary after the meeting, the last JFAC meeting, about the generalities that were discussed, like in the sense that nothing is specific, it is they, everything is they, when they're talking about, the jail and inmates and such, that, just still making sure who they is, and just, I think that, they're just, my interpretation is they, that no one knows, they're trying to do what's best, and they're still talking in generalities at this point. But that still doesn't mean we can't make sure that they is including everyone. So, do we have anything else to talk about with the gender equity?
I just want to say thank you to everyone that is participating on that subcommittee. It's clearly something I'm like kind of into. So I really appreciate the knowledge and experience that everyone is bringing to that subcommittee, because it is a very big thing.
I know. I just can't believe we have an ace in the hole. Kathleen, having that experience, language tip. That's great. No, I love it.
So I wanted to just pipe in quickly, just something that you said earlier, Susan. So Kathleen was really clear with us last night that while she's trained in that, it is a really formalized process. And so she actually couldn't be involved in that formally because it would be a conflict of interest. The whole purpose of that framework, if they go through a formal process, is to have an outsider come in because they're not tied in. They don't have any political agendas or whatnot. So I just wanted, because you made a comment about that she may not be comfortable in any way coming to that table because she can't really utilize that expertise in an informal way when she's, got that formalized training, right? I'm not sure she can switch hats like that, but I just wanted to say that out loud.
Okay.
In case anyone else is thinking about that, she couldn't be the person. It'd have to be somebody else named. There's a whole process to get them involved.
Awesome. Should we move on to new business? Okay. Hoosier Dues for Choice, now Vigil and Rally. It was brought to us that we were asked if we would like to vote on being a co-sponsor for the event. It will be on August 31st here at the courthouse. It is the rally and vigil the day before the abortion ban goes into effect. Right now, the Bloomington Commission for the Status of Women has approved to be one of the sponsors. It's Hoosier Dues for Choice, Monroe County now. Do you remember, is there anybody else?
There are other sponsors. I'd have to pull up the
Yes.
flyer. I don't remember.
But they asked if our name would like to be involved and that we should attend, and Julie and I both said that we would bring it to the table. So does anyone have any questions about that?
What,
It is August 31st from 5:30 to 7:30 here at the courthouse. They're doing speakers and information and, go ahead.
It's hosted by Monroe County Now and Hoosier Juice for Choice, and its co-sponsors so far are All Options, Napoff, the City of Bloomington, I think opposite the mayor. I can't see the small writing. The Chicago Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, and there's one other graphic here that I am not able to read. Yeah,
there
the
is-
City Commission on the Status of Women.
I move that we vote to sponsor that.
Do I have a
Make a
second?
motion.
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
It should be noted, Julie pointed out last night, but during our discussion that it's the same day as the next JFAC meeting, so we can just run up and down the stairs. So we'll all be here.
You'll let now know? Can you let now know? Thank you. Awesome. Okay. So, and now to something light and easy is we had talked the last meeting, or I brought up that I am really big on thank you cards. And I say that because I am very always moved and honored that people take the time to come talk to us and educate us. Our wonderfully small group that other people find, important enough to come. So I have thank you cards. I would appreciate if everyone signed them. I know that they are going out to Beth White, Beth Clausen, and Mary Morgan so far. So, and I can sign, I haven't written anything on them yet, but if everyone could sign, and if everyone isn't here, that I can sign on their behalf so I can send out the ones that we have so far, if that's okay. Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah, please add Annie Aiken into it as well, because she was our very first speaker. Her last
Was
name
it
is
Annie?
E-A-K. Mm-hmm. Annie, A-N-N-I-E, and then Aiken is E-A-K-I-N,
What was
I
that?
believe.
When was that? March?
It was our first speaker back in February, maybe? It was a while ago, our very first one. So please add her to your list. And yes, please sign my name. But spell my name correctly.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
Nikki with a S-C-K-I.
I will.
All right. You know, most don't.
Okay, I wanted to talk about speaker guidelines, and I know there are a couple things in that I think we talked about that I don't remember even from the notes, is that I think it was something we even brought up afterwards, was Nikki writing minutes, taking minutes during during the speaker, and I thought we informally discussed that you don't need to, maybe. Because it feels like it's coming away from you and enjoying and learning, maybe. I don't know. Was there that discussion at a meeting, Nikki?
So it was an exchange that we had about it. I think, yeah, someone had brought up, should we not take notes during that time? My thing is, if we're going to have notes, I need to do it in real time. It's easier and it's more time it's a time management issue for me. But if we prefer not to have formal notes, then I'm happy to not take notes so that I can be a little more involved in listening and responding. I believe from that discussion, we kind of thought about the idea of just having the speakers provide like an outline or a one-pager kind of information, and that we were going to add that into our Dropbox. And so, I mean, that could be in lieu of minutes. I think that sounds fabulous. But I don't want to lose the important highlights of what speakers come to talk about. So
Me personally, you're the one doing the work. I'm okay with whatever, you decide. It was in your best interest. I am okay with us, having summaries or their notes after, before or after or anything like, I am perfectly okay. I know I was reading the notes looking through the notes from when Mary Morgan was here, and I was like, I liked it, but, I was like, that has to be distracting, So, but I would be okay with having summaries instead.
And I think that makes sense. I mean, the commission, the Women's Commission meeting minutes, I think they should reflect what we're talking about and whatever. If we have a speaker, it should be noted that there was a speaker and the speaker presented, but I don't think we need to have minutes from that speaker as well. I think that's fine.
Okay.
And they can just provide their slide deck. Most of them had, a slide deck, so they can just give that and we can drop it in the Dropbox.
So I have it that unless anybody objects that I don't think we need to make a motion about it, but that we don't have Nikki take detailed minutes, that we just have the summary either from the speaker or ourselves after the fact, right? Okay. I think one of the other things that, I wanted to just discuss now that it's been, a few months that we've been having speakers, just how we feel about it, how I just want to make sure, one, that we're mindful. I just wanted to see mindful of time. I know everyone's been coming at the beginning, and setting, and since we've gone through the process a couple of times, like when I first invited someone, I was like, I don't know when you'll start speaking, how long you need to start speaking, how long you can, your time frame, what we need from you, even really like the focused topic of what you're talking about. I think, so I think my thought was, 6:15, they have 6:15 to 6:45 at 40, because it's always interesting to me how much I think, they have to fill a lot of time. But, we spend the first 45 minutes easy going through business, which is always surprising to me that, we talk that long about business, which we obviously have talked over an hour today. So, and I just want to be respectful to our speakers and have hard stops, or do we want them after? Do we want them to start? Whatever. So I just wanted to bring that to the table. I think also, is there something, and not that I want to limit speakers, are there specific questions when we're inviting someone that we want to make sure they answer when they come? Like in the sense of, how does this impact women in our community? How does, or whatever the things that other people might want to recommend, instead of just saying, hey, we're the Women's Commission, would you come share with us what you do? Which, probably hits the mark anyway. But if, when they ask, because I know like Beth asked me, what we wanted her to talk about. I was like, I don't know. So, just in those ways of, do we have like a standard 3 questions, please, this is, and they can add more, but make sure that this subjects or, this information is covered or whatever. But.
Yeah, the invitation that I reached out about was, I was specifically asking for them to speak in terms of their experience as a woman and being, what the Women's Commission could do in support of what they're going to be speaking about. So, yeah.
You're looking at me, yeah. I mean, I think that goes without saying, to be honest. Like,
Does
you're
it?
coming to speak to the Women's Commission. We want to hear what you're doing and how we can help. And yeah, and when when you ask somebody to come, like for Mary Morgan, I wanted to say, we really want to know about how it affects females, and then if possible, then, the elderly females or whatnot. So,
Okay, I mean,
yeah.
that's fine, I just making sure
Yeah.
bases are covered. But you think like a half an hour, because people do ask how long they want us to talk.
I have a suggestion about that. I wonder if we do something where we take care of the old ongoing business portion for like a portion of time, and we give ourselves until 5:30 to 6 to do that. And then we bring in, the speaker is able to come in and speak for however much time, if we're thinking a half an hour. And then new business can happen after the speaker. Because if there's something that comes up from the speaker speaking that might need to be new business, we can potentially deal with that as part of new business.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
Nikki, do you have thoughts?
Would it be problematic in terms of the agenda approval to add it in? That's my only thought. I mean, I like the idea of it.
Well, I think yes. Technically, I mean, we would be amending the agenda after that. But I also think it can be
I don't know the
covered.
technicalities of that, but otherwise, I mean, I think it's great as long as we know that that's not problematic. Adding in something.
Well, I
an
think we would
approved
just,
agenda.
I mean, I think it would just slide in the, in the discussion after with the speaker, but I think
Yeah.
it would probably have to go on the next agenda technically.
Yeah, maybe it could be maybe it's a new business agenda item for looking at things brought up by the speaker to take up at future meetings, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe just a general space on the agenda for like speaker reactions, comments, discussions, or something like that. I mean, that would cover it. That's the only thing that I think of in terms of, procedures. But I love the idea of,
So does
Having
anybody
them.
want to recommend our time frame? What's our time frame? Like I mean, I know this isn't a hard, but I'm just also thinking about, yes, when we tell the speaker they'll be speaking and how long they'll have their window for. So what do we say?
I feel like it would be good to try, I don't know that we can be like, this is what we're doing from here on out, but I think if we try to say we want to be finished with old business by 6 o'clock-ish, and then the speaker can expect to be speaking.
20 minutes? 20 minutes and 10 minutes of discussion?
Yeah.
Then 30 minutes for new business and public comment?
Yeah, and I think if we give that a try, we can see how that goes, and we might need to adjust that, but I don't know. It feels like that could work.
Okay, everybody okay with that? Yeah, okay. So I have, old introductions, old business, speaker, comment, discussion time, then new business, public comment. Okay, perfect. I have intern on here. I know it is, I just want to say that, I just want to make sure that I would really like to bring someone on board somehow. I can follow up with Jennifer, Counselor Crosley, because we had talked after the meeting about having someone about, her daughter knowing people, and I just probably need to follow up with them and I'm willing to do that. I just want to make sure, see if anyone has any questions or thoughts or concerns about having someone that could come, would be interested, just so they could learn what we're doing and be a part of a process, I think would be an awesome experience for someone.
Is this like an internship for
Like a high school
credits?
student.
So we're looking at high school? Does that work as an internship for credit in high school, or is that just an
I think it's
outside
just somebody-
additional thing?
So typically they get like hours that they can go and work like during school. I don't know how it works out of school, but we have interns that come in from Bloomington South.
Oh.
They come to Luddy.
Okay.
And I don't know, I mean,
But
this
what would
is
they
just,
do
I mean, they could attend our meetings.
besides that?
What?
Besides that, because I think like if it's an internship through the high school, it
And
has
I
to be
mean,
something else.
loose,
So
like,
it's not formalized.
I would say no, not at this point. Unless, like,
But what's the purpose?
I think education, just experience. I know.
So they go to other commissions already? High schoolers are sitting on other commission meetings?
I know they sat on the Bloomington Status for Women Commission. They've had people come. I feel like they've had, someone else has mentioned, I don't know who it was in the past, that they've had things like that.
At this point, I'm going to have to say, for me, it's a no, not because I'm against, giving back or anything. I think we have, as a commission, a new commission, have a lot on our plate and a lot that we need to establish and a lot we need to get done this year. And for me, that would just be another thing that we would have to make sure, because I like the question of for what purpose, and I get it, for giving back and educational purposes, but yeah, who has the capacity?
This commission's had interns before, anyway, yes.
Okay.
That was
But-
before our time.
Yes, it
Yeah,
was, that's
I
fine.
think since we're so new, I think we should get established first.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, that's fine. And we discussed this, I think, 6 months ago, and we said we're going to wait. And I was just thinking about it again, I think after, the Bloomington Commission on the Status of Women meeting I went to, because they were talking about it. And it's not something I'm going to ever, not think about, and I will bring to the table when, every few months or 6 months or whatever, are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? And maybe it even again is talking to, some students or, I don't know, someone that runs an intern program at one of the schools that, that could give me some guidelines on, what that's about,
Well,
so.
maybe that could be like a working session and we establish something first before we bring somebody in.
Yeah.
So we can know what the parameters are.
I like that,
Because you
yeah.
want to,
Yeah, I like that.
yeah, because I think we should be organized first instead of just having someone come to the meetings and then if they want to shadow what they want to get to, just matching the expectations would be great.
Yeah, Nikki's got her hand up.
Nikki?
Yeah, I was going to say that. So that's a program I know that they have formally out of both high schools, North and South. But yeah, I think it's a good idea, but I think the same thing, like I was going to say, which is we need to establish kind of a program first for what they would be doing. The city Status on Women, they're doing some big events. There's all kinds of stuff for interns to do, in terms of event planning. But so I think, maybe Susan, if it's something I know that you're really passionate about, maybe, putting together kind of some things over the next 6 months of here are some things that I would like them to do so that we can, almost in a proposal kind of method. Also, I want to say out loud, it's super important to me if we go down that road, which I like the idea of getting young people involved, is to just talk about equity. And not just, somebody's daughter's friend. No, there's got to be a process in place. I just don't think that's equitable at all. So I want to make sure we're mindful of that.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yep. This is good. Okay, I saved the best for last. We discussed about the mission at the last meeting briefly, which I would like to remind everybody. The mission is to advance the status of women in all areas of county life and to champion women's contributions to local culture and society. I know Commissioner Douglas has talked about, maybe revamping the mission, editing it a little bit. I talked to Commissioner Githens about it, and it has been my understanding is that it is okay for us to rewrite a mission, and then we would submit it to the county commissioners, I believe, for approval. So I just want to hear what how we want to talk about changing the mission. I mean, yes, and how, yeah. In what way, how, do we all feel that that is necessary? And how we would go about changing our mission statement?
I'm leaning towards the fact that when we are, even though we are the Women's Commission, I think we are also taking up or trying to, as best we can, take up the cause of folks on the gender spectrum. We're not dealing with things that are exclusive to a particular sex. We're dealing with gender issues, gender equity issues, and that's impacting women, but it's also impacting more than women. And I think that's something our mission, even if our name can't change, I think our mission can reflect that, or should reflect that.
So my real question is, if we had the allowance to rename our commission, what would be the proper language? I don't know, so I'm just asking.
Wait, are we talking about renaming the commission?
No, we're talking about the mission. I'm just saying in general, I don't know what the language would be, so I'm just curious.
For the mission?
Yes.
Okay. Because you said renaming.
Yes, yes, I am curious what it would be. Just curious, and then how we would address that in the agenda. In the mission, I'm just curious. This is just
Oh, so Julie, you said you wanted to rename?
No. She was saying, it's not that we could rename the commission, and it just made me wonder what, if we did rename it, what we could. What would be the proper name to name us?
I kind of want to focus on the mission change, what we want to look at for a mission first, maybe. Because the name.
That's fine. I was just curious. That was just a random thought, nothing impactful. Okay. So how do we want to do the mission?
I think for me, I would like the commission shall serve in the advisory role to advance the status of women and to assist residents, businesses, and the government of Monroe County in addressing issues of gender equality in all aspects of the community. I don't like society.
So that's not our mission, though.
That's what I'm saying I want the mission to be.
You do want this to?
Yes.
Yeah, it makes more sense that this would be our mission, but okay.
Do you want gender equality or gender equity? Because I would want gender equity.
I'm sorry, it says equity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry. So again, I'm proposing the commission shall serve in, our mission is that we shall serve in an advisory role to advance the status of women, to assist businesses or residents, businesses, and the government of Monroe County in addressing issues of gender equity in all aspects.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, because I'm looking at because the mission, combine that, because the mission is only now to advance the status of women in all areas of county life and to champion women's contributions to the local culture and society. So moving that up.
I know, it just has that thing of sounds like, ooh, who makes the best pie crust in the county? That's what it just, I don't know. The mission as it stands now seems very limiting.
Yeah, I like that.
And I don't know if folks are thinking that expanding beyond the status of women is appropriate, but is it something to consider to advance the status of women? And I'm not quite sure what terminology we'd want to use those on the gender spectrum, be more specific.
Maybe just persons on the gender spectrum.
Yeah.
Using persons.
So I wonder,
I don't want to limit us to women.
Yeah, I wonder if
that was a binary term. Sorry, Tiana, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Sorry, Nikki. I'm sorry. I was wondering and you were talking. I still was wondering. I should have muted myself. But I wonder if there's another commission that does that, because there's a Human Rights Commission. So we should think about why were we created too? So not saying we still want to think about gender equity, think about other populations, but there's a Human Rights Commission that deals with sexual orientation and everything else.
So would we want to be specifically focusing on women and those who identify as women to include to get out of the binary of male, female, but not be trying to, I don't know, encompass more than what we're actually capable of encompassing, I guess?
Yeah, I don't think that we need to put women and identifying women. I think we could just put to advance the status of identifying women.
To be inclusive, like an inclusive language like that. But that's what I was saying, if there's another commission, I don't want us to, because then if they're already, I mean, from talks prior to this, there was discussion like, why do we exist? We weren't here, we took a pause, all this, then what's our purpose? That's what I was thinking.
Okay, the purpose, because purpose and mission are
Two different things.
two different things. So I want to think about that. The purpose of the Human Rights Commission, which is also now a joint commission, I believe, between the county and the city, I think. And they promote equal opportunity in employment, housing, education, and access to public accommodations regardless of race, sex, religion, color, sexual orientation, gender identity, national origin, ancestry, or disability. That is their purpose statement. I don't know what their mission
But they
is.
include sexual orientation.
Yes.
And we want to include anyone who identifies as a woman. So that includes people who are trans, whatever, like that's what we want to make sure we include. Because that way, because right now, if you just say a woman, it may be like, I was born a woman. So people who are, identify in other ways, I don't know all the language, I just try to be inclusive as possible. They could feel excluded. So if we say identifying, that includes anyone, if they trans or whatever.
My only thought on that is that I worry about the non-binary spectrum not being included, because when we think about people who identify themselves as women, that puts us right back into that, you're identifying yourself as a woman or a man. And I think really being inclusive of the gender spectrum is the fact that there are people who don't identify in those two binary terms. And so for me, it's important that we're being inclusive to open our minds up, that we're not excluding people because they aren't in that binary. And I don't know what the right terminology is either, but I think when we, I just don't want to exclude. I don't want to exclude. That's what it comes down to for me.
Well, I feel like I feel like in some regard we have to, I don't know, be, mindful of our purpose and mission in this sense and try to figure out what that means. Yeah, because again, it's like if we change our language, we are changing our commission in the sense of, we are become the status of the People's Commission, as opposed, but I mean, I don't know enough. I don't know.
This is a great example of why we need people outside of us on this commission.
So what?
This is a great example of why the representation matters, because we can't really speak to it. So I don't know, maybe we need to, I don't think we are, it doesn't seem like we're in a decision point. I think maybe could we keep this as a discussion, or,
But my generalization would be, I mean, women and those who identify as women? Or do you feel like we need to be more inclusive than that, which changes who we are completely? It doesn't change who we are?
I don't think it does. I'm just, like, identifying women is a group that encompasses more than women. Persons on the gender spectrum that are marginalized by their status, I think, is also incorporated in the kind of support that we want to be giving as the commission, as the women's, even though it's the Women's Commission. I think what we're going after is supporting those who are being marginalized because of their gender status, you know? So
Yes, that makes sense.
So it's beyond women and women identifying, and that gets into that gets into including non-binary, that gets into including people that are not being included explicitly elsewhere, right?
I think, yes, and I think for me, it's the understanding of who is on the commission versus the mission the mission of who we're serving. But I don't know, but again, I don't know with that, what matters.
We've also had a little discussion about trying to expand who is on the commission to be more inclusive of the populations that we are interested in serving. When Beth Clausen was here talking, that was one of the things that was brought up, was trying to expand who is serving on the Women's Commission.
Right, we haven't identified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to suggest that, since this is the Women's Commission, it seems to me that moving the language to identifying women is enough, for the same reason that if I, as an Asian American, am anti-racist, I'm going to be anti-racist across the board. I'm not just going to be anti-racist for Asian Americans. So women are a minority, and so any less represented group, we would also support.
I
Because
agree that we would support for sure. I think we're all on the same page on that. I guess I'm getting hung up on the phrase women and those identifying as women, because I think if you say women and those identifying as women, you're still missing that whole non-binary subpopulation that we are collectively serving and championing.
Right, but I don't think it needs to be said, again, I don't think it needs to say women and identifying women, because I think that statement even is a little bit problematic, because we're saying people that identify as women aren't also women, right? So I think that we just say blah, 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 and individuals that identify as women, and then that is free, whoever identifies as a woman is free to apply to be on the commission, to do commission work. Why is it on us that we have to say we want to be inclusive for sure, and like I'm saying is that, and I think you're saying you're not okay with it, that because we are, women are a minority, definitely identifying women are a minority. I think, and it says, it would say gender equity. I think that would be all encompassing.
I like what you said about identifying women, not women and those who identify. No, yes, I love that so much. Well, it is 6:59. I don't know how do we want to move forward?
I think this change, the mission would be worth a working group, a work session.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a work session to contemplate, try writing some things out, discuss those, what the mission statement could encompass and what it would look like in various forms, have some time for that.
Do we want to invite anybody?
Yeah, I'm also wondering if there's something that we can, if there's somebody we can reach out to.
That could help us shape a statement?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, there's no longer a women's group at IU. So I was thinking that group, it used to be like this women's committee. I don't know, because I mean, going back, I still, like, I think it's somebody to come in and explain the terms, because even when I listening to Nikki, when she said the binary, I'm like, they don't identify as a man or a woman. If we're representing women, then we need to figure out, okay, how are we being inclusive, or are we excluding people? So I think listening to somebody that can explain the different terms too. So we aren't exclusive, but I think that we are inclusive and not excluding people. But I don't know who you invite in for that.
I think there might be the LGBTQ plus Culture Center at IU has a program that actually does talk about gender identity and terminology, and might be helpful.
I know the dude, his face is
Bruce.
Bruce Smiles,
Yeah.
whatever. But I don't know if I just don't know if it's necessary. Like, I think I don't know if it's necessary to invite him in. And why are we inviting him in? Because we're trying to decide between binary, non-binary, transgender. Is that what we're
I think we're inviting him in because we can all be better educated in our work in general about these really confusing and ever-changing terminology, and how do we kind of do that with keeping in mind our mission to, not in written words, but our calling, I guess I'm going to say, to do the work that we're all passionate about doing. I think that's always a good idea, to get more education.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody at this table that's an expert, so.
Oh, no, but I think we should think about, I think before we have that working session, to think about why we joined this commission, though, because that's a thing that matters too. That matters. But
Okay, so table to next time? And we're moving forward with a working session? Who wants to, who's setting up a working session? And are we inviting this person to the working session? I think we can discuss that. Okay. All right, so we are going to create a working session to revisit our mission and other things. I don't think there's anybody here for public comment. I motion to adjourn.
a motion.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Motion or meeting adjourned.